Welcome to another DragonLance Saga gaming episode. Today I'm going to walk you through how I play the old school Dragonlance video games. It is Braka Dark Ember the 20th, and my name is Adam. How you doing? I'd like to take a moment and thank the members of this channel and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the links in the description below. You can even pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link. So I got the question about how I played the DOS video games by other people on the channel because they were having difficulty. And so I wanted to walk through my setup. I am not going to be playing any actual games. I'm just going to walk through how I installed them, how I access them, and how I run them. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, and this shouldn't be too long of a series here, but I do want to point out that Dragonlance has a lot of really great video games out there, and only a couple of them are on NES. So if you have an NES, Nintendo Entertainment System emulator, you can play a couple of these video games, like I know Dragon Strike is on there, and Heroes of the Lance is on NES. But other than that, DOS is the way to go for these games. That being said, there's a lot of different places that you can go to try to find DOS video games, but I have to warn you, and I have to put this out there really quick, make sure you're going to a trusted source. Don't just do a random internet search and the first website you just click on and start downloading. You're going to get viruses, you're going to get malware, you're going to have problems if you do that. And make sure that you have some sort of virus scanning software that is active and updated on your system before you do anything like this. And so I am not going to say that you should go to any one site to download any type of content. Again, that is on you, but I will tell you the different websites that I access these games on. So we are very fortunate that the gold box versions of these video games are available on GOG.com. And that is the Champions of Krynn, Death Knights of Krynn, and Dark Queen of Krynn. So you don't have to work through any of these DOS programs in order to get those games working. They will automatically work out of the box on whatever system you're using. I think it's only PC, but maybe there's a Mac version, but I'm pretty sure it's just PC for those three games. But if you want to play the very first trilogy that came out with Heroes of the Lance, Dragons of Flame, and Shadow Sorcerer, well, that trilogy you're only going to find on DOS. And if you want to play the two standalone games like Dragon Strike or War of the Lance, which is the strategy game or the flight simulator, respectively, then you're going to have to, again, do a DOS version of those games in order to play them. Okay, so this is how I set mine up, okay? First and foremost, well, let me see here. I'm trying to find the right thing here. Here we go. All right, this is the right thing. Okay, so right now you can see one of the websites I go to find the games, and my personal favorite website for them is WowRoms, WOWROMS.com. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get any money from them. There's no real benefit for me to recommend them, just for you to know that that is where I get my games. And the game that I'm going to give you an example of how to play today is Dragon Strike. Now, before we can actually play any of the DOS games, the first thing we have to do is find an emulator, which is basically a program in order to run those games. Now, DOSBox, in my opinion, is the best and most stable version of a DOS emulator. MS-DOS is the old coding language. You can see this little window here. This is how like Windows 3X was able to access different files and stuff. So I would use DOSBox primarily, and you can go to this website, download it. It's free. There's no issues with it that I've ever experienced in having it. But then you're going to have to set up the actual games to play. And there's a link that I'm going to include in the video description here that you can go to and understand how to install it and everything. But it is pretty complex, and it can be a little bit confusing, even though it's very simple. And this may not work in every setup, but it did work in mine, and so I'm going to show that to you now. Okay, so first and foremost, you have to install DOSBox, and that's going to install it into your C drive right here in the DOSBox folder. Make sure it's in the base C drive that you copy the files to. If you don't, you're going to have a headache later on trying to actually make these games work, okay? So once you've downloaded and extracted DOSBox, you're copying the folder right here into your C drive. And then you're going to want to go find the video game that you want to play, right? So in this particular case, I'm going to be playing Dragon Strike. So I'm going to download the Dragon Strike ROM from WoW ROMs, close out the pop-up ads. And then it automatically downloads down here. Don't ever click on these. These are just ads, and they will lead to viruses and stuff. So do yourself a favor and ignore everything. Just wait for it to do its job. But you can see down here that the file did in fact download in zip format. Most computers now automatically open zip files, so you don't have to really worry about those anymore. Downloading like another program to unzip them. So you can see the zip folder here, and it's called Dragon ST. You're going to want to extract that. I usually just extract it in place because all of my files go directly to the My Downloads folder. And once it extracts it, it's going to open it automatically. And you're going to see the file that you're going to want to then copy to the right location in your directory. But also, if you open it, you're going to see all of the files necessary to run the actual game. So what I've already done is copied the actual folder, but what you're going to want to do is select the folder, Control C or right click and copy it. See copy right here. And then you're going to want to go back to your C drive, the basic root directory where you copied the DOSBox file, right? You're going to want to create another folder that you can put all of the different games into that you want to play. In this particular case, I titled it all caps old games. And this is directly from the DOSBox recommended setup that they have on their website. So you've copied the DOSBox folder into your base C drive. You've created an old games folder. You open it and you're going to paste the Dragon Strike folder in here that was automatically named, right? You're not going to change any names. You're not going to do anything to change anything differently. Once you've copied it in there, just make sure you got your files in the system. And that's all you have to do for your directory. So you downloaded and copied the DOSBox emulator. You downloaded and copied the game itself into the old games folder. And you have to pay attention to caps. Okay, that's really important here. So if you name it all lowercase, you have to use that later on in order to run the game. So now let's talk about running the game. In this particular case, I have a shortcut on my desktop for DOSBox. This is what it looks like when it opens. It has the emulator startup program, and then it shows the actual emulator itself. And it shows the little Z drive. So that Z is referencing the virtual mount that it started when you started the program. So what we need to do is change directories from the Z directory all the way over to the Dragon Strike directory. And it's not as difficult as you may think it would be because they're all in the same root directory, right? But that also means first we need to mount the C directory into the emulator. So what I've got is a little cheat sheet here that I'm going to use, and I am going to provide this to you in the description as well. And this is going to depend, it's going to vary on the name of the game folder and the name of the game executable file, the exe file, in the folder. So in this particular case, I'm playing Dragon Strike, so we're going to go through those steps, okay? So we need to mount the C drive into the emulator. And that's done by all caps, mount space C space C colon / old games. Okay, so that says drive C is mounted as local directory C old games. That means that I can now change directory and go play any game that I had already copied into that file. This is going to be the exact same no matter what computer you're on, as long as you copied everything into that root directory. If you didn't, you're going to have to do a whole different setup to wherever you did copy it, a line of command. And that's going to be much more challenging. Honestly, I think that's the biggest problem that people have, is that they copy it in their documents or downloads folder and then they can't access it with these simple instructions. Okay, so we've mounted the old games drive. Now we need to change to the C drive, right? So you just type C, colon, and enter. And now we are in the C drive. That is the old games, because up here we're telling it, I want to mount a C drive. That C drive is old games, right? So we're telling it where the C drive is, so that's going to be the default whenever we change drives to the C drive. But now that I'm in old drives, I need to change directory to Dragon Strike because that's the game we want to play, right? So we have to do cd, which is change directory, space, Dragon Strike, but exactly how it's spelled in your drive right here. So we're going to do uppercase D, R-A, oh, I'm not in the right, uppercase D, R-A-G-O-N, uppercase S-T. Hit enter, and you are now in the Dragon Strike folder. It goes by very quick. It's taken longer because I'm explaining it, to be quite honest. But it's actually a very simple process. So now that I'm in the Dragon Strike folder, all I have to do is enter the name of the executable file, and then I can play the game, right? So the executive, oh my gosh. Here, let me just go to this right here. Where'd you go? Right here. There, you can see it closer. The executable file is dstrike.exe, all uppercase. So dstrike.exe, and you hit enter. Now it's asking you what graphics mode you want. I just click 4 because VGA, that's pretty basic. And we're playing the game. And it's very loud, sorry about that. Now, one thing with these old games and these DOS emulators that you have to remember, hold on a second. It will always prompt you to enter in words from the manual. You can just hit enter and go past that. So you don't actually have to enter in those names or words or anything like that based on it. And I've actually tried to play the games by doing that, and it won't let me. So you have to always remember, just hit enter to go right through that challenge. And now we're playing the game. And it's really that simple. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, not a big deal. If you do run into situations that can be a bit of a headache, it's probably because you didn't copy the files into your root directory, the C drive, or you didn't put DOSBox in the root directory, the C drive. And that's really all you have to do to verify and make sure that it's working correctly. Now, on my website, I have every single one of these video games with links to the ROMs that I used in order to play the games. So if any of these links don't work for you, if any setup doesn't work for you, you can go ahead and feel free to email me at dlsaga.pm.me. I'm sorry, dlsaga@pm.me for Proton Mail. And let me know, what you've done. And I'll have links to the actual DOSBox setup advice as well, so you can try to play it there. But I would highly recommend at least giving these games a shot, because though the graphics are very dated, the story is still relevant. It's still great. It's still fun. It's still the Dragonlance that we know and love. And that first trilogy, Here's the Lance, Dragons of Flame, and Shadow Sorcerer, are actually based on the first 3 modules that were released by TSR in Dragonlance. So I think that's always a lot of fun. So if you want to go explore Zack Sarath, or you want to try to attack and rescue the prisoners of Pax Tharkaz, or you want to try to find Thorbarden, that's those first 3 games. It's pretty dope. It's pretty awesome. And then, of course, if you want to go after the War of the Lands, and you want to find out, well, what happens to Krynn in the video game world, not the novel world, after the War of the Lands, well, that's what Champions of Krynn, Death Knights of Krynn, and Dark Queen of Krynn are. And Dark Queen of Krynn actually takes you to Taladas. So you can play a whole game up in Taladas, which is pretty awesome. If you want to relive a strategy sort of risk version of the War of the Lands, and there was actually, I think it was DL8 or something like that. But it's basically the strategy game, like a chess game or like the board game Risk of the War of the Lands. Well, that's the War of the Lands video game. And if you want to play a 3D You want to be a dragon, a Salamnic knight flying a good dragon against the dragon armies in 3D? You can play Dragon Strike for a DOS. Now, I will have to say that there is an NES version of Dragon Strike, which is not the same, though it is kind of fun too. It's just a different version. It's a top-down view of you know, basically controlling a dragon, destroying a bunch of the Dragon High Lord's locations and stuff, which is still kind of fun. So basically, that's two different games with the same name, which ostensibly just adds one more game to the mix, which is great. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know. JB is saying, I am on live stream. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for your service, man. 55 plus novels. Good for you, man. You're very welcome for the channel. I appreciate you. Whoa. Thank you for the ear rape. Okay. I hope this isn't too aggressive for you. I don't know. Was that loud? That sound very, very loud? I'll have to listen to it after the fact. But thank you guys for tuning in live. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you. But that's it. If you have any questions or comments, you know, feel free to let me know. I'm always available to try to help, or, you know, if you have any questions about Dragonlance or anything, I'd be happy to lend my limited knowledge, you know. I'm like any other Dragonlance fan where I don't pretend to know everything. I have to reference novels and source books in order to find information, and sometimes I visit the wiki, which is pretty good in most cases, but it is missing a lot of information in other cases. But Dragonlance is one of those worlds where, because there are so many people adding to it and changing it, the world itself is in flux. So the Raceland Majir story that I gave is the first edition Raceland Majir story. There's actually, once Brothers Majir and the Soul Forge that was written by Margaret Weiss came out, they changed his story a little bit. And so because that evolution of the characters, the evolution of the storyline, you're going to get different versions of different stories and characters in this same campaign. And that means that you're always going to have someone yelling at you saying, you did it wrong, or you've got this information incorrect, or this is how it really is, you're stupid, you know, just freaking out. Well, how about instead of trying to be a super badass online, you just admit that, yeah, Dragonlance has evolved over the ages. Depending on the source books you're referencing, the information is going to be a little bit different. But the fact is, we all love this campaign world, and we just want to have fun celebrating that love. So maybe don't be a dick. It's always an option that everyone has in life in general. Just don't be a dick. That's it. If you disagree with my take on something, or anyone else's take on a Dragonlance character idea, that's okay. You still have your take. And that's all right. No one is going to take it from you. All right. So that being said, I hope you guys have fun and do try to explore these video games, because they are a lot of fun. And most of them I have attempted playthroughs on this channel in the gaming playlist. So check those out if you ever want to see one actually played. And now you know how I play them, so you can go try and play them yourself. So that'll be a lot of fun. But that is going to do it for this episode of Gaming Dragonlance. Do you have a favorite old school Dragonlance video game? Do you prefer to wait for the games to come out on stable platforms like GOG, Epic, or Steam? Feel free to email me at dlsaga@pm.me or leave a comment below. I'd like to once again invite you to consider becoming a member of this channel, and once again remind you that you can pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using the affiliate link in the description of this video. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I'd like to thank you for joining me in that celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, Slanjavar.